Mr. McCausland, can you please take roll?
Mrs. Feist? She's online.
I'm here, sorry.
Mr. Grisbeck?
Here.
Mrs. Hoppy?
Here.
Mrs. Janisick?
Here.
Mr. McGregor?
Here.
Mr. Modrak?
Here.
Mr. Scalzo?
Here.
Mrs. Turner?
Here.
Mr. Christensen?
Here.
All 9 members present.
Thank you. Our first item on the agenda is that throughout the district, we've had a number of people close to employees, close to people in the district who have passed away, and we've often memorialized people through a donation of a book to a library within the district. And we have a number of these recognitions and memorials that we'd like to read off tonight. And there's 5 of them. I'm going to read those off. So there is Margaret, or Peg Bruce, mother of Michael Bruce, who is a school counselor at the high school. And we have a, I'm not sure which book it is. Could you?
Well, come pick one, Mr. Bruce.
So, the Lighthouse, okay, thank you. And then Clyde Qualk, father of Clyde Qualk, who's a science teacher at the high school. We're also making a memorial at the IMS library for him. Janet Burgoon, mother of Teresa Vescovi, elementary teacher at Ben Franklin Elementary School, and that book would be donated to Ben Franklin Library. Gerard Cuomo, father of Jenny Wessel, speech and language teacher at George Washington Elementary, and that will be donated to the George Washington Library. And then William Blow Sr., father of Jennifer Callahan, special education teacher at Bethel Park High School, and that book will be donated to the Ben Franklin Library. And so I think Mr. Bruce is the one who is here. So we will present.
Jim, you want to be in this too? Could you take?
I need a motion to adopt the agenda for business items.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Mr. Grisbeck, seconded by Mr. Modrak.
Voting is open. Mrs.
Doug, I'm a
Feist?
yes.
Thank
I'm a
you.
yes. I don't, yeah.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the minutes from the September 13th Facilities and Services Committee meeting, as well as the September 27th regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Ms. Hoppy, seconded by Ms. Turner, or
Mr. McGregor. Voting is open. Motion carries.
I'd like to announce a series of executive sessions that were held over the course of the last month. One on October 11th, 2022 for personnel, other legal matters, and to receive information. October 18th, 2022 for personnel, other legal matters, and to receive information, as well as October 25th for personnel, other legal matters and receive information. Do we have, yes, we do. We have a couple student government representatives. Are you ready to provide your update?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that we've had going on right now would be Socktober, which is a donation drive that we've been holding throughout the community. It started at the high school, but we've been able to get donation boxes at IMS, NAMS, the YMCA, and the community center. So that's been running out throughout the entire month, and next week we're going to go collect all of the socks, and then probably next weekend we're going to take them to Light of Life. We've been in contact with Light of Life, and they said that socks are one of the most important donations that they need, especially for the upcoming winter months. So we're hoping to make this potentially an annual thing. Some random things that have been going on throughout the high school would be our homeroom rep meetings, which we have once a month. It's just a way for more students throughout the school to get involved, whether it's working on projects or we have an open forum where they can bring up things that they want to be changed around their school.
There will also be various Halloween activities for students. Tomorrow, there will be a Halloween door decorating contest where all homerooms at the high school will have an opportunity to compete, and students from SGA will determine the winners. This is ran by SGA's publicity committee. There will also be a trick-or-treat event for preschoolers this Thursday, October 27th, and this is ran by SGA's Random Acts of Kindness committee. Then, starting this Wednesday, there will be a Halloween Spirit Week, where tomorrow is Crazy Socks in support of Socktober. Thursday is Zoom Day, where students can wear a fancy shirt and PJ pants. And then Monday will be Costume Day for Halloween. And then these Spirit Weeks are ran by SGA's Spirit and Birthdays Committee.
Thank you. The Zoom day is cute. I think everybody can relate to that here. PTO and PTA report. Caitlin, is that you?
That's me. So this is Caitlin Metzler, representative, PTO president at IMS, and I have the school board report for all of the schools. Starting off with Abraham Lincoln, they had their Scholastic Book Fair, which was a huge success. Everyone loved getting to shop for new books with their class. Thank you to all of the Lincoln families for volunteering and purchasing books to help the library. Their fall festival had a fantastic turnout and raised money to support the 4th grade. They're so thankful to everyone who volunteered, donated, and came out to support Lincoln. From Ben Franklin had a busy October. They had their book fair, pumpkin patch, hayride, and trunk or treat. George Washington is currently running a Black Friday ticket raffle with the prize of $1,250 worth of gift cards for holiday shopping. This past week, the Mad Science of Pittsburgh put on a spooky science assembly for the school. And George Washington's Trunk or Treat event was this past Saturday. From William Penn, they also had a busy October. They had a successful week-long book fair. In addition to the book fair, Penn has its annual fall festival on the 27th. The event is free to the families, and the PTO provides a bounce house, hot cider, popcorn, tattoos, and much more. It's one of their favorite events and is always a huge success. From Neil Armstrong, the NAMS PTO has been busy with several events, most notably their Color Run and Family Bingo. Both were a ton of fun and huge success. A huge thank you to the volunteers, Mr. Patterson, and the maintenance team at NAMS. None of the events would be a success without them. And Independence Middle School, their PTSO is active in their planning of the annual holiday craft fair, which will be held on Saturday, November 19th in the IMS cafeteria. That's it.
Great, thanks, Caitlin. Solicitor's report.
Thank you. I believe my items were covered largely in executive session, but I do want to report that I'm participating in a local solicitor task force about legal advertisement. And I think in light of the fact that we have the Post-Gazette on some of their employees on strike, we haven't hit it directly quite yet on the school district side, but it severely limits legal advertisement and those opportunities, and that, and in the running of government, the lack of a newspaper of general circulation is is a problem. And so regional, I mean, depending on little pockets, we have local newspapers that help to support us. But I am working on that, and I will report back. And if you have any particular concerns that you've experienced over on your side, just let me know. I'm happy to share those and try to triage those as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Any committee reports? Steel Valley, or Steel Center, or anything? No? Nothing? Okay. Superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'll start with previewing the personnel agenda. The board will accept the retirement this night, and as has been my practice, I'd like to tell the board a bit about the candidate or the employee who's retiring. We're starting with Bob Pasco. Bob, in May of 2008, was hired as a substitute custodian, and he stayed in that substitute role until August, and he became a 12-month custodian at Memorial. And in September, he moved into a maintenance position with the district, and he'll be retiring in May from the maintenance position after that many years. So we wish him well. Next, I want to share a strategic planning update with the board. You'll have copies of the particular goals and action steps in front of you, and for everybody else, those are posted in real time on our district website. For this month's strategic plan report, I'm focusing on curriculum and instruction goals. I started these progress reports back in the spring. I've gone through all through 6 focus areas, or buckets as we called them, and now we're circling back to the beginning again. I'm pleased to report that we've made good progress on 3 goals and action steps in this focus area since I last reported to you. First is the goal for a complete curriculum review and program updates. We are smack in the middle of a curriculum mapping project to get each and every course mapped, and in doing so, ensure it's up to date and aligned to the PA standards, as well as, bless you, as the preceding and proceeding courses. Our Atlas mapping system is up and running and slowly getting filled with course curriculum. Everyone is using the Understanding by Design framework, which requires some deep thinking and reflection about the curriculum as it's written. This framework ensures a common structure to our curriculum, as well as requiring some higher level thinking in that writing process. Our next workday is early in November. This is indeed a Herculean effort and will take every bit of time that the 5-year strategic plan affords us. The second goal, where we've made some good progress, is the district moving into an MTSS structure for our interventions and enrichment. I'll remind the board that MTSS stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support or Intervention. The operative word here is multi-tiered. We want to have the right intervention systems and programs available that do not over-accommodate for students or under-expect from them. We want to have tiers or leveled systems of interventions for students who are showing signs of academic struggle. Each tier gets more involved, more systematic, more explicit, and more teacher-directed. We talk about the just right leveled books for kids, so too should our interventions be just right. And we're working to firmly establish the scope and curriculum of our existing intervention programs, and we're piloting a new intervention program at NAMS this fall. Tied to this goal is our MAP testing program, now in its 2nd year. This is a reading and math benchmarking system where teachers can get useful data about their student skills and track their growth over time. And the third goal I want to talk about is the drive to be best in class in all of our academic programs. To do that, we have to instill a continuous improvement cycle, making our curriculum always under review, always looking for opportunities to polish the diamond, so to speak. We're instituting a curriculum council a collaborative peer review process for our curricular departments to bring ideas and opportunities forward for consideration without waiting for that 5 or 6 year curriculum review cycle to come around again. And we'll have our first curriculum council meeting early next month. While we're pleased and proud of the progress, and we're seeing some productivity in Bethel Park, it's worth saying over and over again that with these goals, we're talking about seismic shifts in our foundations, updating or outright changing the cornerstones or keystones of our curriculum. This takes time to accomplish. It takes even more time for it to produce the long-term academic growth we seek in becoming best in class. So I close by extending my appreciation for your support, for your commitment as a board, and your patience, and offer the same to our faculty and administrators for doing this heavy lifting. And I'm going to turn my microphone over now to Mr. Cromie.
I think that's great progress, by the way. I really do. I mean, that's fantastic. It really is.
Thank you. That's the team right there, rock stars on and all. Mr. Cromie, how about your 5 big things?
Okay, we have 5 big things, of course. There's always more than 5 wonderful things happening at Bethel Park at any moment, but we always have to eliminate it just 5. And our 5 big things here this month are especially outstanding. Earlier today, members of the Bethel Park baseball team, the back-to-back state champions, were recognized by state legislatures at the state capitol in Harrisburg. The Hawks baseball team, which captured the program's 2nd consecutive state title and 3rd in program history, the other was 1988. They were formally introduced by the Senate by Devlin Robinson, and in the House by Representative Natalie Mihalik. It was wonderful. They had a great time, and then they afterwards went and supported our girls' tennis team, which was competing for the first time ever in the state tournament. So pretty exciting stuff. Number 2 is the Franklin Book Blast. In September, Franklin had a book blast that raised $23,000 that allowed them to buy 1,900 titles, which were then distributed to each of their students. Each student walked away with between 3 and 10 titles to increase their home library. The idea is to create more readers, which creates more scholarship. So we are very excited about that. They also were able to donate $1,600 to their PTO. So the book blast was fabulously successful, and it was a great event. The third big one was last week was National School Bus Safety Week, and the district celebrated it with a variety of initiatives designed to promote student safety on school buses and to remind those who work in the district's transportation department just how important they are to the educational process. They are the first face our students see in the morning, and they're often the last district face they see at night. And if they can't deliver our kids safely to school, then nothing else we do matters. So we've worked on a number of different issues, but this was one of them. The district, we provided some coffee and donuts, and we also got them some hoodies that are branded with Bethel Park. And hopefully it's just the start of something to show them how important they are to what we do. Next up this is a special one. A young man named Brock Kitterman, who's a senior. He was featured earlier today on This Hits Different, which is a weekly radio segment on The Fan, which is an all-sports radio station in Pittsburgh. And it focuses on some of the most compelling human interest stories involving local high school student athletes. Kitterman suffers from a condition called deaf blindness, the result of a childhood cancer and chemotherapy treatment, which rendered him blind and mostly deaf. Rather than submit to his condition, the strong-willed Kitterman has attacked it. He's an outstanding student. And Kitterman has also he will compete in his 85th triathlon in December. And in March, he will represent the United States in the 2023 Blind Hockey Championships in Toronto. And he's just a remarkable kid. And 5th, certainly last but not least, the Fall Plays coming up on November 10th through the 12th. It's an original production. It's called The Last Christmas Show. It'll be staged at 7 p.m. on the 10th through the 12th. Tickets are just $5. They can be purchased at the door. The family-friendly play is set in the 1950s and is about a small but close-knit and slightly dysfunctional Pittsburgh radio station wondering if they will have one last Christmas show before television takes over for good. Theater arts teacher Courtney Williams wrote and is directing the play. And I had an opportunity to meet with those kids, and they're pretty wonderful. So I encourage everyone to go and see it. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Cromie. And this last piece on my agenda is to hear from our curriculum coordinators, the bright spots. And we'll get a microphone for you. Your tabletop mic should work there.
Over the past, I would say probably 2 to 3 months, we've had the extraordinary opportunity to start planning for designing and developing the new elementary school. And a lot of stakeholder input has gone into that process, whether it be administrators, board members, community members, teachers. What was really something that we wanted to make sure was present was the student voice in this process. And in one of our recent meetings, we were tasked, Mr. Slezak and I, for really starting to examine what an inclusive playground could look like for our students in the new elementary center. And we decided that the best way to find out how to build an inclusive playground would be go out and talk to the kids. And so we visited each of the 5 elementary schools. We randomly selected one 4th grade class from every building, and we went out to those classrooms, went out to the playground and met with the students on the playground. And we really wanted to know more about how they feel when they're on the playground, what they like to do, what they don't like to do. And so we examined 3 questions specifically with the students. When you're on the playground, what are your favorite types of things to do or things that bring you joy? What keeps you from playing, relaxing, or socializing on the playground? Recess is not always a great experience for every kid, so that was something that we really wanted to consider. The last one was a lot of fun, dreaming as big as you can. What would you love to see in a new playground? So there you can see Mr. Slezak very much inspiring and engaging the children. We had a lot of fun out with the kids. They took their job very, very seriously, and we utilized a design strategy. Mr. Slezak is our human-centered design expert, and so we used Post-it notes to make sure that every student had a voice. Oftentimes when you ask kids to raise your hand, you only get a certain amount of answers, and not every kid raises their hand. So we asked each individual question, gave the students 3 to 4 minutes to go out, find a place on the playground, and to generate as many ideas as they could, to ideate rapidly. And so once they turned back in their answers to us for each of those 3 questions, we have hundreds and hundreds of ideas from the kids. There were some common themes that were jumping out, some things that were unique to each school or to each question. So we're really looking forward to going back through that data and really trying to understand what the kids want and don't want in an inclusive playground. So it was a lot of fun and a really, really bright spot in our days.
Thank you. This evening, I will be talking about the Act 158 graduation pathways. These are for our current high school students and the students that will be coming through the high school. And to start that off, I want to do a shout out to the Student Services Department, Dr. Minch, Dr. Shu, and our school psychologists, that every month they hold a family engagement series. And so we blast this out and we have a topic. And this month's topic was assessment literacy. And so please look for information on those. Every month there will be a new topic. We have a virtual option and an in-person option when we can to try to accommodate as many parents and families as possible. And so this month on Thursday, October 20th, we talked about assessment literacy. And one of the items that we talked about are some of the updates that have happened in the 5 graduation pathways. And so with the COVID experience for our students, the state did update the Keystone Composite score, that it allows students that receive that non-numeric proficient during the Keystone year 1920 to use a combination of scores to meet the graduation proficiency to graduate on that pathway. And so this information, we did update the website this month. So if you are a parent of a high school student and would like to see the updated information, it is there on the webpage. And the team at the high school, Mr. Villani, Mr. Krasinski, Mr. Fodzi, Mrs. Franzak, myself, and Mrs. Figlioli, we do meet twice a month to discuss and make sure that all of the students are on a pathway that is appropriate and correct for them and their educational outcomes. And I do want to thank Mrs. Michaels, Mrs. Smith, Mr. Lorenzi, Mr. Bruce, our assistant, Stacy Klosik, and Jenny Katrufis, because tracking 400 students in each grade level through multiple classes, tests, experiences, portfolios, it is a lot of work, but we are going to make sure that every one of our students is on a graduation pathway. And if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to one of us. You can also find more information, such as these nice little graphics, on the PDE SAS website. It is going to be linked to this presentation, which we will put up on the curriculum page as a PDF so that you can directly access the links if you would like more information. But the 5 pathways, again, just quickly to review, you can pass all of the tests for bio, algebra, and literature, or receive an NNP, that non-numeric proficient, if you had one of those courses during the 1920 COVID year. You now can get an average as long as you, I'm sorry, it's not an average, as long as you add up to a certain composite score, you can count that as your composite pathway. And then students that the Keystone testing is not the pathway that they want to utilize for graduation, if they are one of our career or technical concentrator students, they can use a NOCTI exam or some industry credentialing in order to meet that requirement. Students can use some of the AP exams, the SATs, the PSATs, the ASVAB exam, and other items during that alternative assessment pathway. Or there is a way that students can create a portfolio of certain evidences to ensure that they have met the requirements set by the state to graduate. And so again, more information can be found on the website. It's a page that looks like this on the website that's been updated, or you can contact the high school or central office. So thank you very much for your time tonight.
Well, thank you, both of you, and Mr. Cromie, too, for your contributions. You can't leave us hanging, Mrs. Figley. What was the most outlandish request for a playground? Zip lining all the way to Route 88.
And they want the adults to leave them alone.
There was also a request for a in-ground fish tank that you would walk across as you were outside playing. We tempered that request a little bit.
Slushy
I don't know if we can make that happen.
They were very realistic. There were a few like wild dreams, but they took it very serious. It was very interesting to watch. The first question, they were all they'd all lump together with their friends, but when you got to ask them what they didn't like or what they were uncomfortable about, you saw them kind of sneak away to somewhere a little more privately, or ask one of us, will you put this on the board so no one sees me put it up? So we were really, really pleased with them being willing to share their voice. But we are going to figure out we will share that data back. We have a lot of data, but we're looking forward to tackling it.
We got about close to 1,000 Post-it notes to codify and and put into some type of data analysis. Yeah.
That's a great activity.
But it's important
to do. I mean,
it
that is such a learning experience for the kids to go through something like that.
And it's the only time of day in school, genuinely, that the children have autonomy over what they do.
Yeah.
We design the curriculum. They either get lunch from us, their parents pack their lunch, so it's really important that their voice is heard through this process.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
A
thank
lot
you.
of Post-its.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear public comments on any of the agenda items to follow. Any speakers here? We don't bite? Any call-ins?
No call-ins.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to the business items then. Consent agenda. Ms. Hoppy, can you take the consent agenda items?
On the consent agenda this evening, we have lots of items, 20 items. Number 1, professional development. Number 2, Western Governors University student-teacher contract. Number 3, approval of extra duty responsibility program for 2022-23. Number 4, approval of Train the Trainer program for the Bethel Park Federation of Paraprofessional and AIDS Educational Support Unit. Number 5, approval of special education paraprofessionals to be Train the Trainers. Number 6, memorandum of understanding with the Bethel Park Custodial and Maintenance Educational Support Personnel Association. Number 7, change of assignment. Number 8, appointment of personnel. Number 9, approval of unpaid leave of absence. Number 10, acceptance of resignations. Number 11, establish a substitute van driver rate with the Bethel Park Transportation Department, District Council 84. Number 12, October 2022 salaries and bills. Number 13, September 2022 financial report. Number 14, fund balance commitment. Number 15, the Thomas A. Knight Memorial Scholarship Fund. Number 16, purchase of a van. Number 17, budgetary transfers. Number 18, revision to policy, a final reading, and that is policy 127, assessment system. And number 19, revision to policy number 618, student activity funds. And number 20, approval of consent agenda.
I second.
Any additional questions or comments since last week when we discussed these on these topics? Okay.
Voting is open. Motion carries.
Mr. McGregor, can you take the 6 items on the Personnel Committee?
Sure. Under personnel, there are 6 items. I'll read them out loud. 1, approval of extra duty responsibility program 22 and 23. Number 2, acceptance of resignations. Number 3, appointment of personnel. Number 4, Board of School Directors book donations, which we discussed at the beginning. 5, MOU with the Bethel Park Custodial Maintenance Educational Support Personnel Association. And number 6, a change of assignment.
Second? Anybody? Anybody can second it?
Second.
Okay, thank you.
And I have one question.
Okay. Seconded by Mr. Motrak.
The change of assignment, there were a lot of us that pushed because of some class number sizes for the instructional aid positions. And now that person is moving on, where are we with finding another instructional aid?
So according to the contract, I'll post it tomorrow internally, and it gets 7 days internally, and then nobody bids into it, I'll post it externally.
So we're looking at, Dr. Walsh, what are the, are we going to put a substitute in there, or?
No, we're going to work with the 2 building principals to make sure we have a smooth transition. She's not going to start right away.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
That's why the start date is TBD.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to note on number 1, I noticed that we are appointing the, here we go, for Unified Bocce. So thank you to Mr. Villani and Mr. Piscaneri for volunteering to take that role and coach our first Unified Bocce team. I appreciate it, and I can't wait for the season to get started and see what we can do this year. It's very exciting, and thank you.
Extremely excited. I cannot wait.
Nothing but WPIAL finals, Mr. Fisher.
Yeah.
That's it. States.
You'll be in Harrisburg next year. Yeah. Okay, any other questions, comments? No?
Voting is open. Mrs. Weiss. She's off. Okay. Okay, motion carries.
Mr. Grisbeck, can you take the 1 item on Finance Committee?
Sure thing. 1 item tonight on our Finance Committee agenda, payment for the new K-5 elementary school project to the tune of $21,985.57 to Herbert, Rowland, and Grubeck, Inc. I move to approve this item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made by Mr. Grisbeck, seconded by Mrs. Janusik.
Voting is open. Motion carries.
And Ms. Turner on the policy committee, so
Right, there's no voting tonight. We have the second of 3 readings on the 236.1, the threat assessment, 805, emergency preparedness and response, and 805.2, the school security personnel. Does not look like there were any changes from last week when we reviewed.
There are not. This recommended changes based on the new Pennsylvania Code for training for threat assessment teams. So policies just line up with the new requirements.
Right, and since we have our own police department with the school districts,
Correct.
we have to align that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
And then the next two, Ms. Turner, are ARs, administrative regulations. They won't require a board vote, but want to make sure the board was aware that these things were being put into place relative to our homeless requirements under Pennsylvania Code and federal code. So these are referral procedures and which would be administrative to follow, and then the documentation, a form that we're going to use as well. So this would line up with an existing policy on homeless
Right,
students.
which is policy, sorry, which
Yeah,
is
this-
policy 251.
Yeah, it lines up with those, but it's an AR, it's not a policy. So they'll, now that the board has seen them and can review them, they'll just end up in our manuals. They won't be on a board vote next week.
Right, and for the general public, the ARs are what the administration team at each school would need to follow based on the policy and making sure that we comply with all forms and regulations that are required by the Pennsylvania Department of Education.
I just had maybe a very basic question. I should know this, but, you know, we talk about a lot of policies, you know, every week. We got some on the agenda. We've got these ARs that kind of help us implement a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of documentation. How do we ensure that, you know, people are aware of these and that, you know, if there is a problem, they can associate that with a policy or an AR or something like that? I mean, I can see this being overwhelming for people, okay? Because I think we all work in places that have procedures and, you know, policies and things. And in my experience, the more you have, the less anyone is followed or remembered, you know? So I'm just wondering, you know, we kind of at a point where we, you know, and we're not increasing. A lot of times we're just updating, but there's a lot. How do we make sure that people actually remember and
Yeah, so most of
follow
the,
these and
that's a
use
good question. Most of the policies actually direct the board and/or the superintendent or both on how things would operate procedurally and policy-wise in the district. Sometimes in the policy, you'll see a statement that says the board directs the superintendent to develop guidelines or implementation regulations, and that's where the ARs come in, which is basically taking policy and turning it into guidelines or regulations for the administrators to follow. And we're actually currently updating all of those ARs, making sure that they are correct and in line with our policy. So the principals, the other administrators are spending once a month going through another set of them to make sure we've been up to date. And the final piece is that there will be oftentimes a direction in the policy on where these things should be communicated or how they're communicated. Some of them have to go into the student handbooks or faculty handbooks or posted publicly, visibly. Some of them have to be shared annually, and so that's essentially how we make sure that we're keeping ourselves accurate and in compliance.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's good, because, you know, when we pass a policy, we say we're going to do something. If we don't do it, it actually creates a liability for us, you know, in some situations, so.
And if the public is ever, you know, curious about a particular policy, they can go search Bethel Park Board Docs, and there's a policy tab on the top, and it's actually organized pretty well in terms of category. And if you want to search by keyword, say like for bullying, for example, you can see the associated policies that will pop up. It's, I think, one of the few things on Board Docs that actually does work quite well and is pretty easy to navigate.
Yeah.
And Mr. Christensen, the other thing you just said, you know, with the leadership that you've given this board over the last year, we have been very cautious of the policy meeting the expectations of us and the superintendent.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important from our standpoint to make sure we can operationalize it, because if you can't operationalize it, then it creates a liability if we say we're going to do something and we don't do it, so. Okay, any other comments or questions on policies? Okay. Then the next item is public comments on anything else related to school business.
Thomas Archer, 1012 Willigon Drive. I'm asking for continued support from the board for inclusion measures in the district. I know you are under pressure from a noisy minority of citizens who believe that diversity and inclusion initiatives are designed to make white kids feel bad. They aren't. As a child, I once sat down at the lunch table and folded my hands to say a prayer. I only did this once because I was immediately mocked and teased. The point of this story is that discrimination doesn't discriminate, and inclusion initiatives have as much positive impact on straight white Christian men as they do on black, lesbian, Muslim women. Also, inclusion does not mean approval. 7-year-old Thomas did not need or want the approval of any atheist before praying. Similarly, the students in this district do not want or need anyone's approval to be who they are. I'm sure you've heard people claim that schools should only focus on education, but they don't really mean that. Nobody's demanding to cut the sports programs because everyone recognizes their value, even if they don't make anyone better at algebra. Inclusion has value as well. Furthermore, it's worth noting that while most Americans are registered as Republicans or Democrats, 60% of us don't actually identify as belonging to either party. This is because Americans see both parties, not just the other party, but both parties as increasingly extreme and exclusionary. There is a new silent majority in America, and we are counting on you to stand up and keep this asinine culture war out of our schools. Growing up is hard enough without having to worry about if it is safe to pray or safe to be gay in front of your classmates. Quite frankly, so is teaching. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any call-ins?
We do have one call-in. Brendan?
Yes.
You have 2 minutes. You can state your name and begin.
Thank you very much. Brendan McCarthy, 101 Jordan Street. First of all, I would like to thank you guys for implementing the universal screener in light of another school shooting yesterday, which again was perpetrated by a current or former student of that school. We must keep looking for ways to stop this madness. As school board members, you have no control over gun laws or police response, but you do have the ability to help shape a school environment that is less likely to produce someone filled with such rage. In that vein, I believe this board should be doing all that it can to help our troubled and victimized students. Because while I don't have much info on yesterday's shooter, the results are in for most of the others. Before those kids turned into monsters, they were victims. Victims of abuse at home, online, at school, or at some combination of the above. Victims who maybe could have been helped before they decided that the best way out was to commit an atrocity so awful that they would no longer be considered victims. That is why I politely ask that, while I understand the policy is set as opt-in for this year, the policy be updated to opt-out for next year and on a go-forward basis. That is what the creators of this screener intended. They are the experts, and they believe it necessary to be opt-out so as to be able to get the screener to our kids who need it the most. Let's hope that Bethel is never in the headlines for such an atrocity. But if it ever were, wouldn't you want to look at yourselves and legitimately say you did everything in your power to stop it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? No? Board comments?
I did have a comment earlier about Steele Center. Totally forgot. I attended the ninth graders at the high school had an assembly this morning with Steele Center representatives coming. Shannon Henson is the school counselor there. and he brought a school advisor, and the kids were exposed to every single program that Steele Center has to offer. There's a video, and you can actually go to YouTube and find it. It covers every program. And so our ninth graders got a very good dose of the trades this morning and what's available to them when scheduling starts in March or February. The intent is maybe to have a parent night here to expose parents to everything that's available to their children at Steele Center. So it was great. It was, the kids were attentive and learned a lot. I also want to give a shout out to Brock Kitterman. I had the opportunity to meet him in the most unlikely place, which was an active shooter simulation at South Hills Village Mall last year. We were both there, and I had the opportunity to chat with him. He is a lovely, lovely young man, and I'm just so proud of his accomplishments. He's a warrior. So congratulations to Brock.
Is there a link of that YouTube video planning to be put on the website?
There can be, yes.
Mr. Cromie? Thank you, sir.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that apparently Bethel Park High School is just not black and orange this week. It's turning blue. There's a nice new blue banner for the Blue Ribbon School that went up today. So I hope everybody ordered their T-shirts. But it's a great day when that banner went up for those high school, especially that high school administration.
Fantastic.
Oh, okay, well, thank you. Just a follow-up, we gave a shout out for the Colwich Fair, and we had conversations in regards to trade and tech. But just as an announcement, and I wish Mr. Cromie has put this out already, there is the South Hills Trade and Tech Fair on November 1st from 6 to 8 p.m., which would be at Peters Township High School, which is 121 Rolling Hills Drive in McMurray, PA. And it will have multiple vendors there, contractors and so forth. It's open to all the students in the South Hills School Districts. Just a follow-up. Oh, man.
Thank you, Mr. Matrak. I want to update on a few things. First, I want to give our administration, both here in this building and the administration in all of our buildings and our teaching staff, a huge, huge shout out for all of the progress on the strategic plan. It is a tremendous, tremendous amount of work, and you have led it so well and organized it all so well. Thank you very much. It takes a lot of time to get all of these things updated and to move forward and grow and learn and become better together. So thank you. Shout out to Ben Franklin for their wonderful book project. That was so exciting to hear that some kids got to take like 10 books home. That just made my heart smile. That was wonderful. And happy Transportation Week. Is it Transportation Week? School Bus Safety Week. So all of the transportation department, they are wonderful. We obviously could not do what we do without our bus drivers and our bus aides. And as usual, if you know anyone who would like to become a bus driver or a substitute bus aide, please contact the district. And the accessible playground, thank you very much for tackling that. One of the things that makes me so very happy about the elementary center is that for the first time, we are going to have students who traditionally have been in separate buildings and other students haven't been around to know and become friends with students who use wheelchairs or walkers or different assistive devices. And for the first time, we're going to have the opportunity for children to know one another, and an accessible playground is so important for that. So thank you for doing that. And on a side note, a communication board for a playground for our students who aren't speaking would be absolutely, I might cry, yes. Yes, so that they can communicate and ask their friends if they want to swing or, awesome. I can't wait for that, truly. And the last thing is Sunday, November 6th, Day of Healing with the municipality. It's at the community center from 1 to 4:30. And it's a time and a space for the community to come together and share about grief and loss and healing. And I did want to provide the update that thanks for the connection from Mrs. Franchuk at the high school. They've contacted the Caring Place, which does work specifically with children and youth and their families. And they're sending materials and activities and may be there to speak at a table. So there will be specific things for children who are going through grief and loss as well. So if you have kids who want to participate in that, it will be a family type of event. And that was a heck of a lot, but thank you very much.
Any other comment? I just wanted to add on to what Ms. Janicek said about the strategic plan and the update that Dr. Walsh gave us tonight. Tonight's topic was, again, curriculum, which you did 6 months ago, and we'll get around each one of these topics every 6 months. But this goal, this topic it's the reason we're here, okay? This is job one. And what he talked about tonight was this step one of getting our curriculum down on paper. And I see that as the first step before we can finally have an integrated and continuous curriculum, a curriculum continuity all the way through from kindergarten to 12th grade. And you can't get there unless you do that step one of writing it down and evaluating it. What areas are we missing? How do we enhance certain classes, certain grade levels? And this is just fantastic, okay? And, it's such a great benefit of the work we all put, across the whole community, the work into the strategic plan. So great job to everybody. I mean, this is job one. This is why we're here, so good job. Any other comments? Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, no? We just stay here?
Darren couldn't get there fast.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?